Perhaps it has been weeks since we were mentally preparing for this news. Even then, now that we hear the news, we still feel the vacuum. We find ourselves unprepared. Soumitra Chattopadhyay has left us. While the whole world of cinema lovers mourns his death, it is very difficult to explain what this means for a Bengali cinephile. Ever since a Bengali has developed taste for cinema, he or she has been watching, discussing and celebrating Soumitra. We at Filmkopath are no exceptions. We have literally watched the man grow old in front of the camera with iconic films that were junctions in our own lives as it were for our parents. So here's Filmkopath's humble tribute to one of the tallest towers of Bengali cinema. Last of the Mohicans we had from the golden age of cinema in Bengal. We cannot cover Soumitra's career spanning more than 300 films. We also do not intend to discuss some of his, as some would say, unflattering work towards the end of his career. Instead, here's our attempt to celebrate Soumitra through 5 of his most iconic scenes from Satyajit Ray movies, which one can watch over and over and over and still not have enough from them. It was Opurajito, the second segment of the Oppu trilogy that Soumitra had actually auditioned for Satyajit Ray. Ray did not consider him for Opurajito, but eventually he got him for the third segment, Oppu Songshar, and there began one of the most celebrated actor-director combinations of Indian cinema. Soumitra starred in 14 out of a total of 29 films of Satyajit. And we have our first iconic scene from the duo's first ever collaboration. Perhaps for the first time since his childhood, Oppu is happy. And starting from his relaxed turn of the head to his carefree look from the bed, Soumitra brings out that happiness. Happiness of a man who can ease up from the struggles of life in finally finding a support to hold on to. Look at the way he looks at Aparna, his wife. He finally has someone in his life, a companion, someone who cares for him since his mother left. How beautifully that is communicated through Soumitra's facial expression. But immediately after that, the reality sinks in. His wife needs to go through all pains of the household work and he can hardly afford a salary to get her a domestic help. The flute comes down and his worries are back as you see on his face. Oppu is unsure what to do to help the situation, and like any other common man, his first form of defense is an offense. He asks Aparna whether she regrets marrying him.
তোমার অনুশোচনা হয় না?
কি হয় না?
অনুশোচনা।
অত শক্ত কথা বুঝি না।
আফসোস বোঝো? আফসোস?
বুঝি।
আফসোস হয় না?
কিসের আফসোস?
তাও বুঝিয়ে দিতে হবে?
হ্যাঁ হবে।
বড়লোক বর ফসকে গেল তাই আফসোস?
Look at Soumitra's subtle looking away from Sharmila while he speaks. He represents all of us when we say something out of ego and emotion which we are aware of being untrue. That small act of looking away brings out the emotions of Oppu.
নিশ্চয়ই আফসোস হয়। তুমি আমাকে বলো না।
তা হয় বই কি, কেমন পায়ের উপর পা দিয়ে বসে থাকতে পারতাম।
Aparna hardly responds, and that enrages Oppu further. He insists that he is certain Aparna regrets marrying him.
চলো
And now, when Aparna pulls his leg, saying yes, she regrets and wishes she could afford a maid, look at Oppu. Soumitra puts up a clueless face, and then, out of a bruised ego and no plan whatsoever, he makes a move to look for domestic help. Aparna pulls him back. And then we have perhaps one of the finest moments of romance in Indian cinema, or for that matter, world cinema.
ঝিয়ের মাইনে দেবে কে?
আর একটা টিউশনি নেব।
তাহলে আমার বাপের বাড়ি পাঠিয়ে দিও।
কেন?
এমনিতেই তো অফিস করে ছেলে পড়িয়ে সেই তো রাত্রি করে বাড়ি ফেরো, তার উপর আবার।
আর উপায় কি বলো?
Look at the slow change in Soumitra's voice modulation and expression.
যে টিউশনিটা আছে সেটাও ছেড়ে দাও।
তারপর?
তারপর আমার গরিব বর সন্ধ্যের আগেই বাড়ি ফিরে আসবে। আর আমার কোনো অনুশোচনা থাকবে না।
And by the end of the scene, Soumitra brings back the same smile of Oppu, the same smile the sequence started with. Priceless. Let us now look at a sequence of scenes from another Satyajit Soumitra collaboration, Shamapti, the third segment of his anthology film Konna. Soumitra plays Amullo, back from the city to his village on his mother's insistence. His mother has planned for his marriage with a girl from the nearby locality, and now Amullo is all dressed up to go visit and evaluate the potential bride. Amullo has to walk across the mud-clad village roads. Look at Soumitra pulling this scene so convincingly. The actor has to actually walk through slippery mud, fake slipping, retain comedy timing and proper camera angles, and yet not make it slapstick the way he looks around so as to ensure no one is there to watch him fall. And then now, after a hilarious sequence at the girl's place, it is time for Amullo to return and he finds his shoes missing. Well, Aparna Shane's Mrinmoyi has hidden the shoes.
কি হলো বাবা? না আমার আমার জুতোটা এখানে। তোমার জুতো তো
Just note the precise natural comedy timings of Soumitra here. Amullo knows he would have a lot of problem returning through the same roads, this time without shoes, but he out of formality says he can manage while his voice betrays his words.
না থাক, আমি বরং এমনি। আমার কিছু অসুবিধা হবে না। আমি তুমি এক কাজ করো বাবা, বুঝলে? না সে কি কথা, আপনার জুতো নিয়ে আমি কি যাবো? না না
And now he is given a different pair of shoes. He is back on that little road. And then For the third most iconic scene of Soumitra, now let us look at the famous memory game scene from Orunit Din Ratri and understand how Soumitra brings out the character of Oshim in this sequence. Early into the film, one would realize that Oshim is the decision maker in the men's group of 4. There is a sense of ego and superiority complex in Oshim, be it in his conversations with his friends or the way he hustles into the forest rest house overriding the chowkidar. That is until he meets Sharmila Tagore's Apurna. Oshim very well realizes that Apurna is of a different league, but is still insistent in trying to match her in wit, wisdom, and skills. He takes the memory game as a platform to position his superiority over the lady in a mixed sense of ego, pride, and patriarchy.
এই তো আমরা গোল হয়ে বসেছি। ধরুন আমি খেলাটা আরম্ভ করছি। আমি একজন বিখ্যাত লোকের নাম বলবো।
Look at him trying to be indifferent at the start and then slowly getting involved.
নামটা যেন সকলেই জানে।
কি আছে স্টার্ট করুন।
এবারে বুঝেছিস?
অসীম বল।
রবীন্দ্রনাথ, কার্ল মার্কস, ক্লিওপেট্রা, অতুল্য ঘোষ, হেলেন অফ ট্রয়, শেক্সপিয়ার।
In his first go, Oshim is super confident. He moves on with the names faster than everyone else, throws away his cigarette in style, having smashed the first round. In the next round, Aparna's is as fast as Oshim, maybe even better.
রবীন্দ্রনাথ, কার্ল মার্কস, ক্লিওপেট্রা, অতুল্য ঘোষ, হেলেন অফ ট্রয়, শেক্সপিয়ার, মাও সেতুং, ডন ব্র্যাডম্যান।
না, কার্ল মার্কস, ক্লিওপেট্রা, অতুল্য ঘোষ।
When it is back to Oshim's turn, he is clearly under pressure, spontaneously admonishing Hari for wanting to leave the place.
আমি নেই ভাই, আমি নেই। নেইটা কি আছে? জায়গায় বস।
Oshim is careful in calling out the names this time, goes slower and succeeds.
রবীন্দ্রনাথ, কার্ল মার্কস, ক্লিওপেট্রা, অতুল্য ঘোষ, হেলেন অফ ট্রয়, শেক্সপিয়ার, আউট, মাও সেতুং, ডন ব্র্যাডম্যান, আউট, আউট, রানী রাসমণি।
When Sanjay, the only one left in the game apart from Apurna and Oshim, by now starts faltering, you see a subtle smile and happiness in Soumitra's eyes. He has at least stood best in his group, as usual. He proudly says there's a time limit in calling out the names.
টাইম লিমিট নেই?
আছে 10 seconds.
আমি করে দিচ্ছি।
রবীন্দ্রনাথ, কার্ল মার্কস, ক্লিওপেট্রা,
Aparna is seamless
হেলেন
yet
অফ ট্রয়,
again.
শেক্সপিয়ার, মাও সেতুং, ডন ব্র্যাডম্যান, রানী রাসমণি, কেনেডি।
Which Kennedy?
ববি।
Oshim frowns. Look at Soumitra now, playing competitive and trying to downplay his own
Karl Marx,
pressure.
ক্লিওপেট্রা, অতুল্য ঘোষ, মালিশ, হেলেন অফ ট্রয়, শেক্সপিয়ার, মাও সেতুং, ব্র্যাডম্যান, রানী রাসমণি।
He manages the
Bobby
next round
Kennedy.
while Aparna is seamless yet again.
টেকচাঁদ ঠাকুর।
রবীন্দ্রনাথ, কার্ল মার্কস, ক্লিওপেট্রা।
In the next one, Oshim struggles through but manages to surface above, clearly expressing his frustrations in between. Look at his face when he finally finishes
Karl
with a
Marx,
new name.
ক্লিওপেট্রা, রানী রাসমণি, কেনেডি, কেনেডি। টেকচাঁদ ঠাকুর, নেপোলিয়ন, মমতাজ মহল।
And now, to his utter dismay, Aparna surrenders.
বোধহয় পারবো না। সে কি রে? তুই মনে করতে পারছিস না? আমার হরিবাবুর দশা হয়েছে।
She, clearly being the more intelligent and mature of the two, well realizes the tension building up and that Oshim won't be able to manage the next round.
না, আউট। অসীম বাবুর জি।
She realizes what that would mean to Oshim's vanity and she just lets it go. Oshim is shocked, and in the next scene, we find both of them together, smiling on the merry-go-round. Now, coming to the fourth most iconic scene of Soumitra out of 5, one might say that there are many other better than this. Well, yes, we might be biased here. But talking about Satyajit and Soumitra as Bengalis, we could not afford not mentioning Feluda. The essence of Feluda, the character from the books, was brought to screen wonderfully by Soumitra. And the character's smartness, subtlety, and sense of humor perhaps gets best identified in this intro scene of Jatayu, aka Lal Mohan Ganguly.
लो तंग मत करो काफी हो गया ज्यादा हो गया जाओ जाओ
Santosh Dotto as Lal Mohan Ganguly simply steals the show. He is amazing in his timing, delivery, and expressions, and deservingly stands out to be the best part of Satyajit's Feluda movies.
कितना दूर तक जा रही हैं जोधपुर
And yet, in this scene, you see a brilliant Soumitra communicating with the audience through his nuanced expressions.
एक कहानी लिखना चाहता हूँ रहस्य रोमांच कहानी अप टू डेट 27 कहानियां लिखी हैं ऑल पब्लिश्ड बहुत जनप्रिय
Look at Soumitra switching glances between Lal Mohan and his cousin Topshe. What a perfect comic timing, with just nothing at his disposal.
सांप्रतिकतम उपन्यास गोविंद जाट के पट भूमिका में लिखा हुआ दुर्धर्ष दुश्मन छोटायू मेरा छद्मना असली नाम लाल मोहन गांगुली.
He is munching at his sandwiches and casually letting the scene flow, punctuating just enough in between to uplift it further.
बढ़िया पक्षी जटायु मेरा छद्मना. तुम क्या बंगला पढ़ने जानते हो?
बोलने भी जानता हूँ.
तो कहाँ सीखा?
কলকাতা আপনি হিন্দি চালিয়ে যেতে পারেন বেশ লাগছে
তোর মশাই আমি গড়পাড়ের লোক হিন্দি কি কেউ সারি বলে নাকি এই দেখুন না এই নিয়ে ঘুরে বেড়াচ্ছি
বেশ অনেকদিন হলো ঘুরে বেড়াচ্ছেন মনে হচ্ছে
হ্যাঁ 15 ডিসেম্বর তো বেরিয়েছি বাড়ি থেকে
আপনার ঘড়ির ব্যান্ডের তলায় চামড়ার আসল রংটা মাঝে মাঝে দেখা যাচ্ছে
ঘড়ি ওরে বাবা আপনার তো দারুণ চোখ মশাই ঠিক যেন গোয়েন্দা গোয়েন্দা
The measured smile, the accent, the indifferent yet piercing looks. Since Satyajit and Soumitra, we have had so many versions of Feluda on screen. But nothing has impressed us even marginally closer to what Soumitra did for this character. That is because while all the later versions were more occupied with hitting dialogues, action set pieces, or visual resemblances, none could match Feluda's looks of Soumitra. The penetrative glances are what Soumitra brought to the character of Feluda on screen, the biggest weapon at an investigator's disposal.
প্রদোষ মিত্র 21 রজনী সেন রোড কলকাতা 7,29,000.
And now, coming to the end of the top 5 most iconic scenes of Soumitra, we are back to where we started with. A discussion on Soumitra Chattopadhyay cannot end without discussing this last scene from Oppu Songshar, his debut film. Oppu is returning having met his son at his in-laws' place. He is losing the last human connection to this world. His son Kajol, who is oblivious to Oppu's identity, and then he looks back to find Kajol following him.
কি চাও কাজল কিছু বলবে
তুমি কোথায় যাচ্ছ?
তুমি আসবে আমার সঙ্গে
তুমি কলকাতায় যাচ্ছ?
যদি যাই তুমি আসবে
আমার বাবার কাছে নিয়ে যাবে?
নিশ্চয়ই
বাবা আমায় বকবে না?
কেন বলবে কাজল
আমায় ফেলে চলে যাবে না?
কখনো না।
তুমি কে?
তোমার বন্ধু। তুমি আসবে আমার সঙ্গে?
Satyajit might have been one of the finest directors the world has ever seen. But the way Soumitra says, Tomar Bondhu, with the gap in between, is an actor's work. And now, is it only us, or you two are seeing that glowing spark in Oppu's eyes, asking his son to join him in his journey? That spark we have is Soumitra Chattopadhyay. There's so much more to mention about him. There are hundreds of other scenes to talk about. Add to that his theatre, his poetry, his recitation, and his plays. Of course, his politics, his humanity, and his life outside the boundaries of cinema are no less memorable and are worth celebrating every day. We are too small to cover Soumitra Chattopadhyay, one of the tallest stalwarts of Indian cinema. Hope you enjoyed whatever little we could pull through in his remembrance. Rest in peace, sir. You are still among us in your work as Oppu, Amullo, Amol, Oshim, Feluda, and many more immortal characters.